everybody, my name is Maddie and this is my Marvel comic breakdown. Welcome back to hopefully your favorite comic breakdown channel. We're back at it again with another episode that's sure to knock your socks off. We're diving straight into episode 9. Buckle up because we've got a wild ride ahead. This episode we're delving into an electric mix of classic superhero tales and thrilling adventures, filled with epic showdowns, mind-bending mysteries, and last-minute plot twists that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. From the depths of space and jungle escapades to demons and rubies, there's something for every comic enthusiast here. So grab your favorite snacks, get comfy, and then let's dive headfirst into the wonderful world of comics. Remember, if you enjoy this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with your friends. Let's get started. The next 5 comics are from the Mystic Comics #1. They were all released in January 1940. The next comic is titled Journey to Cygni. It was written by Joe Calcagno and illustrated by Fred Schwartz. Zephyr Jones and his bestie, Corgi Grogan, 2 names we haven't heard in a while, are all set for their next adventure, a daring flight to Mars. But wait, they're gate crashed by a zany scientist, Professor Lexico, and his daughter, who somehow managed to sneak onto their ship. And get this, the Lexicos aren't just there for a joyride. They pull a gun on our duo and demand a detour to this star named Cygni. Apparently there's some potent stardust there that's supposed to be basically the next level of radium. Zephyr and Corky aren't exactly down with the whole being held at gunpoint thing, but they're intrigued by this idea of this stardust, so they decide why not? Let's chase the star. On arrival, Zephyr and Corky lock horns with these short and nasty aliens, the Cygnians. In the midst of all this, the Lexicos get snatched up by these alien goons. But hey, you can't keep our boys down. Zephyr and Corky go full beast mode on these Cygnians, saving the Lexicos and causing an avalanche in the process. With the threat neutralized, they grab 50 pounds of this precious stardust and zoom back to Earth. It's a whirlwind journey, and we've got to appreciate how the storyline fuses the excitement of space exploration with the classic trope of a surprised antagonist. There's a unique balance of cooperation and conflict that really amps up the suspense. Plus, the concept of stardust offers an intriguing hint that new developments in their tech, leaving us eager for the next part of their journey. The next comic is titled The Green Terror. It was written by Robert O. Arisman and illustrated by Newt Alfred. It starts with a sinister group on the prowl named the Green Terror, snatching up young men and women left and right. When their latest target turns out to be Maisie Leeds, her bestie Carol Garson and her guy Ted decide enough is enough. They head to the police to crack this nut. Enter the 3 X's, the trio of the hour. We've got 1X, the super sleuth, 2X, Mr. Know-It-All, and 3X, the fighting machine. Armed with the only clue they have, a green glove casually dropped at the scene, the trio starts to unravel this eerie mystery. Little do they know that they're being watched by the Green Terror's goons. Out of nowhere, the Green Terror's minions launch an attack, but our super trio isn't out for the count yet. They manage to gather enough intel to trace these baddies to a ship preparing to sail from New York. So they hitch a ride in a cab with Carol and Ted, but alas, they're captured and taken aboard the vessel. Once they're out at sea, they finally meet the man behind the mask, the Green Terror. This guy hails from the dark depths of Africa, even though he looks like a white man. And here's the twist. He's keeping himself forever young by feeding on the blood of youth. Before he can make a snack out of Maisie, our trusty 3X's spring into action. They make quick work of the Green Terror and his minions, freeing Maisie and neutralizing the threat. They turn the ship around to make sure this terror gets a taste of justice. This tale gives us an intriguing look at the horror and mystery genres blending together. The Green Terror serves as a sinister antagonist with an eerie edge, while the trio of specialists, the 3X's, brings an interesting dynamic, combining different skill sets to take on the villains. The suspense is kept high throughout the narrative, making for a riveting read. The next comic is titled The Deep Sea Demon. It was written by Norman Daniels and illustrated by Fred Gardner. This one is definitely insensitive towards Asian people and does use slurs in the original comic, so please be advised if you want to go read it yourself. It begins with Dave Dean, who's on a risky quest for some lost pearls at the bottom of the sea. But it's not just the ocean's depths he has to worry about. Wing Po and his raiders are in play, and there are spooky rumors of a haunted sunken ship. Dave plunges into the deep blue, only to be ambushed by one of Wing Po's goons dressed up like a creepy underwater demon. A major scuffle ensues, during which Dave's air supply gets severed. With no choice, Dave shoots up to the surface but suffers from decompression sickness, or the bends as we know it. His buddy Phil and their friends Janet and Shorty rush to his aid on board their ship. Once he's back in shape, Dave confronts Wing Po, who tries to play it off, suggesting that the demon had attacked one of his own men too. Undeterred, Dave takes the plunge again, this time facing off with his demonic attacker. He manages to KO his foe and returns triumphantly to the surface with the coveted pearls. Dave unveils the demon to be none other than Philip, and the sunken yacht actually belonged to his cousin. And and Philip had deliberately sunk it to snatch the pearls for himself. The story adds an underwater twist to the mystery genre. It's brimming with tension and suspense as Dave Dean fights to retrieve the pearls and confronts unexpected adversaries. The revelation of Philip as the demon gives the narrative an intriguing turn, adding a layer of personal betrayal to the tale. The rumors of a haunted ship add a sense of eerie anticipation, enhancing the overall mystery of the story. I think the insensitive nature comes from past racism because of the war at the time, and just because some people are just racist. The next comic is titled The Blooded Ruby of Chung. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. The author and artist are unknown. This time it's all about Dakor, who's got a spicy little adventure coming up. After a dual period, Dakor's world is suddenly thrown into chaos when a dying dude stumbles into his office. His dying words, the Blooded Ruby of Chung has been stolen, and Dakor needs to contact his father, a guy named George Hargate. So Dakor reaches out to Hargate, a loaded guy who bought the Blooded Ruby after it was stolen from the Temple of Chung. But here's the catch. Anyone who lays eyes on this ruby becomes murderously greedy. Tom Denver, a buddy of Hargate's son, is the one who took the gem. Wanting to wash his hands of this bloodshed, Hargate agrees to pay Dakor to retrieve the ruby and return it to where it belongs. Dakor finds out Denver's joined the French Orange Legion, and guess what? Dakor enlists himself to snatch the ruby back. Denver tries to make a break for it, but Dakor is hot on his trail. They both end up being caught. While Dakor is demanding the ruby, one of the Tuaregs hears him and spills the beans to their leader, who wants the jewel for himself. He threatens to kill Denver unless he gives up the jewel. But no worries, Dakor's got magical powers. He manages to escape and saves Denver's life. He then uses telepathy to pull the gem's location from Denver's mind, retrieves the ruby, and takes it back to its rightful place at the Temple of Chung. After successfully wrapping up his mission, Dakor heads back to the States where he gets a whopping $50,000 for his services. This story is a whirlwind of action and suspense, full of unexpected twists and turns. The mystical Blooded Ruby of Chung serves as a classic MacGuffin, driving the plot forward and causing characters to act in unpredictable ways. Dakor's magical abilities add a unique touch to the detective narrative, blurring the lines between mystery and fantasy. The next comic is called The Origin of the Dynamic Man. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Daniel Peters. This time, our spotlight's on Dynamic Man, the creation of a certain Professor Goetler. But the professor dies of a heart attack just when he brings Dynamic Man to life. Isn't that something? Fully aware of his purpose, Dynamic Man vows to use his powers for humanity's benefit. He takes up the alias Kurt Cohen and starts grinding his way into the FBI while also building his rep as a superhero. In no time, our boy is a full-fledged FBI agent and gets assigned to check out what appears to be a kooky complaint about a man-made drought. But this isn't an ordinary case. When Cohen, in his Dynaman persona, digs deeper, he finds a secret facility in the mountains causing the drought. The mastermind behind this wicked plot is none other than the millionaire banker King Bascom, who's looking to dominate America's agricultural industry by buying up drought-stricken lands. Dynamic Man flies over to Bascom's place and faces off against the villain. He gets doused in lantholium and trapped in a room filling up with liquid nitrogen, with a dropping ceiling. This isn't enough to hold Dynamic Man. He breaks free, chasing after Bascom's plane, where Bascom is gathering evidence that would expose his plot. When Bascom and his goons try to flee by plane again, Dynamic Man brings the plane down with his electric powers. He nabs Bascom mid-parachute and makes him fess up to his crimes. This storyline is packed with classic superhero elements. A hero born out of tragic circumstances, a cunning villain, and a climactic confrontation. Dynamic Man's dual identity adds intrigue and allows for a mix of covert investigation and spectacular heroics. His determination to use his powers for good provides a moral anchor for the narrative, emphasizing the responsibility that comes with that kind of power. The next 9 comics are from the Mystic Comics #2. They were all released February 1940. The next comic is titled The Plot Against America. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Arnold Hicks. It dives into the action-packed world of Earl Everett, also known as the Mastermind Excello. This dude's got a lot going on. On his way back from a mission in Europe, he stumbles upon some spies planning against the US. But our guy ends up caught and ends up captive on their ship. While bound, Everett overhears their scheme. They're planning to hit New York and collect some important papers before linking up with Dr. Marco at a super power plant. Everett, not one to stay in a bind, manages to free himself just as the spies dip from the ship on a plane. Our man fights his way through the rest of the goons and boards a second plane in hot pursuit. He tracks the spies to an office building, takes them out, and goes undercover as one of them to meet Dr. Marco at the power plant. Marco, totally oblivious, spills the tea about his plan. He's rigged the power plant's dynamos to send electricity surges to major cities across America, setting off explosives they've placed. But when Marco tries to flip the switch to set off the explosives, our boy Everett blows his cover and jumps into the fray. After a tussle, he knocks out Marco, slips past the guards, and manages to blow up the plant from the outside, putting an end to Marco's dastardly plot. With the crisis averted, Excello reaches out to intelligence, dropping the location of the enemy ship to be sunk, and the office building with the tied-up spies. The authorities show up and find Excello's calling card, which reads, "America first and always." Super patriotic, right? This storyline is a rollercoaster of suspense, surprise, and subterfuge. Everett's ability to adapt and improvise, his quick thinking, and his commitment to the greater good define his character and drive the narrative forward. And let's not forget his patriotism. His actions really kind of do scream America first and always. The next comic is titled The Stolen Weapon. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Jack Binder and Elmer Cecil Stoner. It's the return of the Williams brothers and their mind-blowing creation, a torpedo repeller. Joel, having just finished their ingenious design, zips off a plane to deliver to Washington, D.C. But his plane's engine gets sapped by some secret spy weapon, forcing our guy to make a crash landing. The spies then swoop in, snatch the prototype, and leave Joel tied up in the forest full of hungry wolves. Damn. But don't worry, Joel's got it covered. He uses his radio signal to call for backup. And guess who's racing to the rescue? His brother Josh and their rad robot buddy, Flexo. Just in time, they swoop in to save Joel from a very furry fate. Now it's mission, recover the stolen prototype, and our trio aren't playing. They get Flexo to give them a lift, flying over the area with a special detector to track the energies given off by their stolen invention. They trace the sneaky spies to a mine, and with Flexo leading the charge, they send those guys running. The spies attempt a hasty retreat, but they're no match for our heroic trio. Flexo sends their car careening off a cliff, managing to recover the torpedo repeller just in time. This comic plot serves up a hefty dose of adrenaline, suspense, and high-tech action. The Williams brothers, with their inventiveness and unyielding spirit, embody the classic comic hero archetype. But the real MVP, Flexo, their robot sidekick, whose abilities play a key role in outsmarting the villains and retrieving the stolen device. The next comic is titled The Sabotage Ring. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Gus Ricka. We're back with the dashing and dynamic Kurt Cohen, aka the Dynamic Man. After a change of successful sabotage events, the FBI is at their wits' end, and who better to call in than our main man, Kurt Cohen. The explosives are the handiwork of the notorious Dr. V, and his sights are now set on the westbound express. But our hero's not about to let that happen. Kurt Cohen decides to suss out the situation as Dynamic Man, and his super enhanced vision discovers a bomb just chilling on the tracks. Just in the nick of time, he gets rid of it, averting a disastrous derailment. Our hero then puts his detective skills to the test and tracks down the culprits. True to form, Dynamic Man goes all out, defeating the goons and pressuring one of them into chauffeuring him straight to the boss man's headquarters. Dr. V, tipped off by a hidden mic, is ready and waiting. As soon as Dynamic Man rocks up, he's mobbed by V's minions. Distracted, he's caught off guard by a sneak attack from Dr. V that knocks him out cold. Waking up, he's in a room with spiked walls closing in on him, but Dynamic Man isn't fazed. He blasts through the roof and hightails it to freedom. Next, our hero takes the chase to the high seas, where Dr. V and his crew are escaping on a ship. Dynamic Man halts the vessel, lays the smackdown on Dr. V's men, and leaves them for the cops to deal with. He then catches up to Dr. V himself, gives him a one-way ticket to the ocean, and heads out. Once back in his everyday guise, he gets the deets from his FBI superior that Dr. V was fished out of the ocean by the authorities and confessed to everything. This comic plot showcases Dynamic Man's investigative skills, combat prowess, and indomitable spirit. He not only thwarts Dr. V's destructive plans, but also ensures justice is served. It exemplifies the archetypal struggle between virtuous protagonist and a sinister antagonist, filled with suspenseful moments, daring escapades, and intense confrontations. Dynamic Man's resourcefulness, bravery, and determination are key factors driving the narrative, making it an engaging and thrilling read for fans of the superhero genre. The next comic is titled Against the Blackhawk. The author and artist are unknown. It takes place in the 4096 universe. Fast forward to the year 2300, where interstellar travel is the new normal. But with the immense power of space exploration comes great responsibility, and even greater danger. Crime has leaked its way into the cosmos. To counter this, the Space Rangers are formed, becoming the cosmic law enforcement. Among these celestial guardians are Bob Rayleigh and his trusty sidekick, Nibs. They're called upon to handle a spate of thefts, with merchant shuttles being looted of the rare and precious polonium element. Rayleigh and Nibs are astute. They realize the robberies take place near a meteor close to the planet Mercury, so they make the decision to probe further. Little do they know, the meteor is where the villainous Blackhawk has set up camp, plotting the next polonium raid. His daughter, despite his warning not to intervene, witnesses his evil plans. The Space Rangers touch down on the meteor, only to be ambushed by Blackhawk's henchmen. Unarmed and outnumbered, they're captured and held prisoner. They receive a menacing warning from Blackhawk himself. Once he leaves, however, Rayleigh and Nibs make their daring escape, aided by none other than Blackhawk's own daughter. They reach their spacecraft, but the chase is far from over. In the depths of space, a dogfight ensues between Blackhawk and the Space Rangers. Despite the odds, our heroes prevail, obliterating Blackhawk's cruiser and in the process ending his life. This victory signals the end of the polonium raids. This narrative highlights the courage, wits, and perseverance of the Space Rangers, particularly Rayleigh and Nibs, as they combat interstellar crime. It presents a unique twist with Blackhawk's daughter aiding in their escape, which showcases the complexity and potential redemption of seemingly villainous characters. In the end, justice prevails, reinforcing the idea of maintaining order even in the vast new frontier of space. The next comic is titled Blue Blaze. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Newt Alfred. There's a chilling radio announcement about a mine cave-in, and without a moment's hesitation, our superhero, the Blue Blaze, zips off in his super sleek roadster, determined to lend a hand. At the scene, he discovers a grim reality. All the miners trapped inside the cave are lifeless, and there are ominous remnants of a bomb. Suddenly, the unstable structure collapses even more, but our hero isn't fazed. Using his incredible powers, Blue Blaze maneuvers out of the catastrophic mess. Our plot thickens when Blue Blaze meets the mine superintendent. Barco is is there, peddling his supposed cave-in prevention device. Blue Blaze shares his bomb discovery with the superintendent, and suspicion falls on Barco. I mean, what are the odds? From here, our story takes an icy twist, literally. As Blue Blaze investigates the next potential mine target, Barco decides it's time for a cold shower, attacking our hero with his freeze guns and trapping Blue Blaze in a solid ice block. Barco, triumphant, thinks he's outsmarted our hero and proceeds to plant a bomb in the next mine. But hold up, Blue Blaze isn't called a hero for nothing. He bursts out of his icy prison and confronts Barco and his goons. He takes them down like a boss and diffuses the explosions just in the nick of time. And what's the cherry on top? Our villain, Barco, ends up in an insane asylum. The narrative blends elements of suspense and action as the Blue Blaze uncovers a bomb and suspects Barco of foul play. The story climaxes with a thrilling confrontation between the Blue Blaze and Barco, showcasing the hero's resourcefulness and bravery in foiling the villain's plan and bringing him to justice. Overall, the passage highlights themes of heroism, justice, and the classic struggle between good and evil. The next comic is titled The Laboratory on Wheels. Our main man, Jim Taxi Taylor, just wrapped up modifying his ultimate hybrid vehicle. We're talking about an all-terrain ride here. Air, sea, land, you name it. He pitches his futuristic idea to the government, dreaming it'll be used to safeguard America. But instead of a round of applause, he gets laughed off the stage, dismissed as some wacky inventor. But our boy Jim is no quitter. To prove the skeptics wrong, he decides to road test his vehicle while working his day job as a taxi driver. His passengers for the day, a couple of diplomats from the land of Swastika. And it's not idle chatter Jim overhears. No. They're discussing a plan to derail the neutrality legislation, using planted mines as their weapon of choice. Post drop-off, Taylor goes full-on spy mode. With his cab's built-in surveillance gear, he eavesdrops on their plot. There are mines near Liberty Island, targeted at two massive vessels, the Normandy and the Queen Mary. Determined to thwart their plan, Taylor goes airborne in his swanky taxi, spotting the culprits laying the mines. He switches to submersible mode and hunts down the mines via radar, rendering them harmless with a magnetic ray. But things heat up when an enemy boat attacks. Taylor deals with it coolly, even tackling a scuba diving assailant, and sinks their boat using his taxi's defensive systems. Finally, in a race against time, he rushes back to the villain's hideout just as they set it ablaze to destroy the evidence. But no fire can stop our hero. Using his taxi's firefighting gear, he douses the fire and retrieves the crucial files. After tipping off the authorities, Taylor wakes up to headlines declaring the spy's capture. This tale brilliantly showcases resilience in the face of mockery and the determination to stand up for what's right, with some high-octane action thrown into the mix. And of course, let's not forget our hero's multifunctional taxi that makes the story a roller coaster ride of innovation and daring feats. The next comic is titled The Origin of Dr. Gade. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Newt Alfred. It dives into the mind-boggling narrative of Dr. Gade, a man of science working diligently on a novel invention aimed to help humanity. But there's always a villain. In this case, it's greedy George Sporvan, who's out for blood, literally. He hires a hitman to take Dr. Gade out, pushing him into a chemical furnace. But here's where the plot gets spicy. Instead of meeting a fiery end, Gade becomes invisible, thanks to the chemical cocktail. With a specially designed vibration machine, he even manages to toggle between visibility and invisibility. Now with a superpower up his sleeve, Gade decides to hunt down his would-be assassin and uncover the mastermind behind his plot. In his invisible form, he follows the hitman straight to Sporvan's lair. An invisible assault on the villains ensues, leaving them terrified. Even when they attempt to hide and lock themselves in another room, Gade swipes the key, making his presence felt. Sporvan, in a fit of fear, fires his gun at Gade, who deftly turns invisible, causing the bullet to hit Sporvan's henchman instead. In a desperate attempt to escape the police, Sporvan flees to Gade's lab, hoping to corner him there. But Gade is no sitting duck. Even when his device makes him visible, he stands his ground. The ensuing fight sees Gade once again going invisible, leaving Sporvan perplexed. As the police arrive to arrest Sporvan, Gade, in an invisible coup de grace, throws Sporvan onto a disintegrator. Sporvan is gone, dispersed into atoms, leaving behind bewildered cops trying to piece together the puzzle. This gripping narrative is a powerful showcase of scientific invention meeting the supernatural. It also highlights the transformative nature of adversity, with Dr. Gade turning a murder attempt into a superpower. The next comic is titled Zara of the Jungle. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Newt Alfred. It involves Captain Jeff Graves, the territorial commissioner, as he tries to figure out why the local tribes are constantly erupting into violence. After handling a lion and stumbling upon a decimated village, he meets a mysterious white woman, Zara. Born and raised in the wilderness by her father, Zara embodies the principles of truth and justice. Despite her warnings of the dangers that lie deeper in the jungle, Jeff decides to forge ahead, duty-bound. And as forewarned, he's soon ambushed by natives who overpower him and bring him before their leader, Wana Gombo, another white man. Gombo is a classic comic book villain with a grand scheme to stir up discord among the tribes, then seize control and become the ruler of the jungle. Just as it seems like curtains for our hero Jeff, Zara swoops in for the rescue. She not only frees Jeff, but effectively subdues Bwana, ensuring he faces justice for his deeds. But Zara's role doesn't end there. She brokers peace among the tribes, revealing the puppeteer behind their disputes. Once tranquility is restored, Jeff asks Zara to join him back in civilization, but true to her nature, she declines. The jungle is her home after all. This narrative truly explores the themes of duty, the impact on outsider influence influence on indigenous communities, and staying true to one's roots. Zara, despite being an outsider by birth, adopts the jungle and its inhabitants as her family, while Gombo tries to exploit the same environment for his personal gain. A classic tale of good versus evil, sprinkled with action, adventure, and loyalty. Also a classic tale of white people messing with things and people that they have no business messing with. The next comic is titled Dakor the Magician. The author and artist are unknown. It's another adventure with Dakor, who finds himself in Singapore, summoned by the British consulate. They've got a bit of a situation on their hands. Murdoch, one of their own, has been snatched by Chinese bandits, and they're looking to Dakor for a rescue mission. So Dakor switches it up, donning the disguise of a Chinese boat merchant, and sets sail for the bandits' island. Almost attacked on arrival, Dakor convinces the bandits and their leader Mungo that he's there to join their crew. Things get dicey when Dakor locates captive Murdoch and spills the beans about his rescue mission. Predictably, this blows his cover, landing Dakor in the same predicament as Murdoch, bound and facing a barrage of arrows. But this is where the magic happens, literally. Dakor uses his enchantments to turn the deadly arrows into harmless cornstalks, breaking free from his binds. In a flurry of action, Dakor fights off the bandits, liberates Murdoch, and they hightail it out of there. And because why not, Dakor pulls another trick out of his sleeve, transforming his sailboat into a motorboat for quick escape. This story presents a thrilling blend of adventure, disguise, and magic, showcasing Dakor's ability to think on his feet and his unwavering commitment to the mission. He doesn't shy away from danger, but faces it head on, proving time and again that he's not your ordinary magician. The next 6 comics are in the Mystic Comics number 3. They were all released in March 1940. The next comic is titled Menace of the Stargazer. The author and artist are unknown. This is a showdown between Blue Blaze and some baddies who are out for his destruction. These mobsters have brought in the big guns, hiring Dr. Gar and the Stargazer to wipe out our hero. The Stargazer brings his A-game with a device that harnesses starlight, creating an obedient star monster. But our Blue Blaze has got some tricks up his sleeve. When his instruments pick up the bizarre starlight, he decides to face the star monster head on. The monster proves invincible, tossing Blue Blaze out a window. However, the creature is weakened by daylight, losing its power source and becoming inert. Not one to be easily defeated, Blue Blaze decides to use the enemy's power against them. He crafts a mirror capable of reflecting starlight that powers the monster. As night falls, the star monster is back in action, but our hero is ready. In a quick move, Blue Blaze lures the monster into a printer's shop and covers it in molten lead, blocking it from the starlight source and once again rendering it powerless. When the Stargazer attempts to blast a deadly beam of starlight at the Blue Blaze, our hero deflects it with his mirror, resulting in the demise of both the Stargazer and Dr. Gar. This story showcases Blue Blaze's ability to adapt and turn his enemy's strengths into their weaknesses. He doesn't back down even in the face of seemingly invincible enemies, exemplifying his resilience. It's an exciting narrative with themes of resilience, ingenuity, and the classic fight between good and evil. The next comic is titled The Origin of Hercules. This is a different Hercules. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Arnold Higgs. This is a tale of Dr. David and his son, who he raises to become the pinnacle of human physical and mental abilities, all secluded on a distant snow island. When his son blossoms into a formidable young man, Dr. David passes away, his mission accomplished, and the man known as Hercules becomes a legend. Enter Millock and Garton, 2 circus owners seeking to capitalize on the buzz. They journey to Snow Island, hoping to verify the stories of the living giant, aiming to make him their circus star attraction and boost their revenue. Spotting Hercules, they capture him, and when he awakens, they tell him they're taking him to America, his father's homeland. Intrigued, Hercules agrees to be a part of their circus, stepping into the spotlight as their star performer and bringing in loads of cash. But when a savvy reporter, Bobby Drew, calls out the circus owners for not giving Hercules his fair cut, things turn nasty. But Hercules, unfazed, effortlessly dispatches them and walks away. But just as he exits, he spots a dam collapsing. Putting his extraordinary strength to use, he rebuilds the dam, preventing a flood in the nearby town. Hercules' heroism earns him the town's admiration, but he doesn't want any reward, stating his only desire is to aid mankind. Inspired by his own actions, Hercules decides to commit himself to fighting crime. In this narrative, we see themes of exploitation and social justice explored. Hercules' arc also encapsulates the hero's journey, from being an isolated giant to a crime-fighting hero. This story challenges the conventions of heroism and valor, while taking us on an exhilarating ride. The next comic is titled The Cold-Blooded Iron Duke. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Elmer Cecile Stoner and Binder Shop. This storyline involves the Iron Duke, a master of deceit engaging in a spree of arsons to swindle insurance money. He's willing to split the loot with anyone who dares to play with fire. The plot thickens when one of his dangerous fires threatens a tenement, potentially trapping young, innocent children. The Williams brothers, always ready to jump into action, deploy their high-tech ally Flexo to rescue the endangered kids. Connecting the dots, Josh Williams concludes that the Iron Duke must be behind the fiery chaos and embarks on a spying mission. But things heat up as Josh gets captured and is left stranded on a burning boat. With only his remote control at his disposal, Josh makes a distress call to Flexo, pulling him out of the literal hot water. Alerted to the Williams brothers' meddling, the Iron Duke attempts to extinguish their threat once and for all by sending his men after them. But just when the Duke thinks he has the upper hand, Flexo springs into action again, bringing the Duke and his men to their knees. In this story, we see how bravery and technology innovation combine to combat corruption and greed. The narrative underscores the idea of reckoning and justice, even in the face of dangerous adversity. The next comic is titled Land of the Missing Rockets. The author is unknown, but it was illustrated by Arnold Hicks. It takes place in the 4096 universe. It dives into another interstellar escapade that follows our beloved Space Rangers as they tackle a baffling case of rocket thefts. Bob, Riley, and Nibs are dispatched in a prototype rocket to see if it will meet the same fate, and oh boy, does it ever. The mastermind behind the Grand Theft rocket is none other than Carl Forms, the autocrat of planet Glaxor. When Rayleigh and Nibs fall into his clutches, Forms wastes no time in flexing his power, intending to feed the Space Rangers to his pet dragon. Because you know, every space tyrant needs a pet dragon. But our Space Rangers are not the types to give up easily. They manage to outsmart the dragon, using its fiery breath to melt their confinement, and ultimately slay the creature. With newfound freedom, they barrel through Forma's lab, where they dismantle his rocket-stealing gizmo and lay waste to his minions. Just when they're hot on Forma's tail, he retreats into a panic room, smugly revealing that he has enough supplies to outlast a year-long siege. But the Space Rangers, always quick on their feet, decide to turn the tables. They use Forma's own stash of explosives to blow up his section of the planet, ending the reign of Forms and his followers. The narrative showcases the Space Rangers' resourcefulness, bravery, and quick thinking as they face various obstacles, including a perilous encounter with Form's pet dragon. The story explores themes of courage, ingenuity, and the struggle between justice-seeking heroes and power-hungry villains in a futuristic and fantastical setting. Overall, the passage offers an entertaining blend of space exploration, daring escapades, and the triumph of, you guessed it, good over evil. The next comic is titled The Ring of Saboteurs. The author and artist are unknown. We're diving back into the realm of mystery, sabotage, and espionage with none other than Mastermind Excello. Buckle up, because it's gonna be one hell of a wild ride. Investigating a string of suspicious train wrecks, our guy Excello spots a pattern. Nope, these aren't accidents, they're acts of sabotage. Using his crazy powers of foresight, he predicts the next target and heads straight there. He's all like, hey train guy, hit the brakes. And just in the nick of time, he defuses a planted explosive. But he's caught off guard when the culprits show up and knock him out cold. Our hero isn't out of commission for long though. He springs back into action, following his baddies to their hideout. Here's the plot twist. These guys are Cushion spies, trying to muck up the American scene. Excello is caught bound and tossed into a car for disposal. But surprise, surprise, he breaks free, KOs his captors, and leaps from the car just before it crashes. Now it's time for some serious mind magic. Excello visualizes the head honcho, Borovich, causing major havoc by messing with the rail switches connected to a powerhouse. Rushing to intercept Fritz, Borovich's lackey, Excello manages to turn the tables during the tussle, leading to Fritz shooting himself. When the other spies hear about this, they decide to pack up and run, but Excello's like, not on my watch. He busts in, takes down the spies, and rings up the authorities. By the time the cops arrive, all they find are the busted spies, their incriminating paperwork, and Excello's signature calling card. Here we see Excello's superior intellect and predictive abilities on full display. The narrative is all about mind over matter, with Excello using his deductive powers rather than brute strength to crack the case. This storyline also highlights Excello's courage and quick thinking in high-pressure situations. It's a classic good versus evil narrative where our hero battles foreign spies, adding a layer of espionage and intrigue in the mix. The 180th comic in the series is titled The Pool of Nordu. The author and artist are unknown. We've got another exotic adventure featuring our favorite magician, Dakor. We're talking jungles and more in this thrilling escapade. Dakor's visiting his buddy, Lord Twisden, when chaos hits. Twisden's daughter, Anna, has been kidnapped by a tribe led by a dude named Ballas, who wants to crown her as his white goddess. Dakor's like, no way, Jose, I'm bringing her back safe and sound. Donning a disguise, blackface, our magician hero ventures into the wild jungle on a mission to find Anna, but his cover's blown, and he's hauled before Ballas and Anna, who's under some kind of spell. They're all like, throw him into the pool of Nordu. It's a mystical pool that could zap away his magical abilities. Then it's straight into a fiery pit. But here's where Dakor flips the script. The flames dry him off, restoring his magic powers. In an epic twist, Dakor uses his powers to toss Ballas into the fire, ending the villain for good. With the baddie out of the picture, Dakor brings Anna home, but not before leaving the tribe with a statue for them to worship as their goddess. So this story puts Dakor's cunning and resilience on full display. It's a classic damsel in distress narrative, but the tropical setting and the villain's exotic tribe add a fresh spin to it. The Pool of Nordu and the fire pit as tools to neutralize, then restore Dakor's powers, serve to heighten the suspense. The story's climax where Dakor turns the tables on Ballas highlights the magician's quick thinking and his mastery of his magical abilities. And to cap it off, Dakor's decision to leave a statue for the tribe to worship reflects his empathetic character. He understands the tribe's need for a figure of worship, providing them with an alternative to kidnapping unsuspecting women. And that, my friends, is a wrap on episode 9. We've unraveled mysteries, defeated villains, and saved the day, one comic at a time. Remember guys, these stories aren't just about the thrills and chills, but they're also about heroism, friendship, courage, and always standing up for what's right, no matter the odds. I also love sharing the history of these comics with you. I hope you've enjoyed our comic journey today as much as I have. Before we sign off, I just want to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you for your continuous support. This comic journey is growing stronger every day, and that's all thanks to you. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to smash that like button. Share your thoughts and theories theories in the comment section. I'm always stoked to hear what you guys think. And if you're not a part of the squad yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and join us on our epic comic book journey. Until next time, stay curious, keep reading, and remember, every page turn is a new adventure waiting to unfold. Catch you all in the next one.